Welcome, everyone, to another episode of LRG Recaps. We are covering the latest and greatest, maybe not the greatest season of Survivor, but hey, the latest episode of Survivor 46, episode 9. I have some very special guests with us here today. Natalie, welcome to the stage here at LRG Podcast. How are you?
Hi, I'm good.
So, Natalie's coming as kind of like our reality game expert. Like, what's your favorite reality show, Natalie?
Big Brother, but that's just because it's the first one I watched.
Hmm. And what are we thinking of the season so far?
I really like it, but just because am invested in the people. I just am I have a deep hatred for some people.
Which we'll get into here shortly. Natalie, as a bonus awesomeness, Laura is Natalie's mother. Laura was here a few weeks ago with us, so it's good to see a family connection here. Speaking of family connections, Amy joins us here. Amy, how are you?
Hi, I'm good. How are you, Dustyn?
Good. You have another very significant family member in the LRG community. Do you want to say who that is?
Oh, my daughter, the player of the year, that's Taylor Clark.
Hey, but being player of the year is awesome, but also you played a big part. You and your final five alliance got to the end of a very important LRG here. Do you want to recap that a little bit? And you have yet to accept your award. So if you want to say a few comments, go right ahead.
Uh, well, yeah, so I played last year, Can You Survive the Great Mountain? And I was honored to be one of the females that made the all-female final five. Unfortunately, I was the first one out, but whatever. That's okay. I mean, I don't think I've seen that before on an LRG. If so, I don't remember. So it really was special. It was our heads were swirling while we were there in the moment. It was like, is this really happening? Are we going to do this? We did it. And it was really, like I said, it was special. It was an honor to be part of it. Um, and yes, thanks for whoever voted for us.
And speaking of the award show and everything, we have John here just to do a quick little recap. A lot of you folks watched it, and he just wants to say a few words about this. John comes in as LRG villain, or as we coined the term, anti-hero of the year. So, John, if you want to say a few words.
Yeah, definitely anti-hero. We like that title a lot better. No, I just really wanted to come on here and just give a big shout out to Rachel McKenna for doing the awards. The whole community as a whole just coming out, supporting each other, a lot of recognition. Dustyn especially having us on the LRG page kind of give us like that validity of this awards being official. And hopefully this is something that could continue for years to come. And it's only going to get bigger. I spoke with a lot of hosts and production members from different LRGs, and we said this is going to become like a sport eventually. This is going to be like a Spartan race where every year people are training and get ready to play these, and it's just going to become more competitive and it's just going to grow in nature. There was a lot of glows from the awards. I did post a little review on the LRG page. And I gave a shout out to a lot of games that it was their first season, like Big Brother Cincinnati, Golden Gates, a lot of games that went against big Goliath games, like more known games such as Survivor, Brooklyn South, Real Foot. And I kind of wanted to give everyone their flowers. And yeah, I just also want to shout out games that are going to be coming out soon that might have not been highlighted for the awards. Like Stranded, it's a new Survivor-based game out of New Jersey that's coming out. There's a game called Heart. I also know Golden Gate Season 2 is coming out. I also wanted to shout out IU Survivor, which the rest of their episodes will be coming out in September for their current season. And I kind of want to push Season 2 because I did play Season 2, which is called Power Players. So I'm excited for that to come out in 2025. Also, the Mall, Ohio. No, not the Mall, Ohio. Shout out to the Mall, Ohio. But there's a New York Mall that's coming out, which is Troy's game, and they will be live streaming next week. So I just wanted to also highlight them. and just show that the community is growing. And there's a bunch of people who might not have been nominees, but next year they definitely have their chance. And I just want everyone to be on the lookout for games that are coming out.
Yeah, and as a fellow live game player, I highly recommend it. Amy, do you have a few words of inspiration for anybody thinking about playing a live game here?
Do it, because I had the classic Suri syndrome. I'm sitting on the couch, and as I get older, I feel less and less confident I can play on CBS, but these games are more attainable, easy to get into, and you don't always have to be, the big, strong challenge beast to win, whether it's the CBS version or the LRG version. So just do it. And the other thing that a lot of people say is their favorite, and not to sound corny, but it's true, but just meeting everyone from one game to the next, and then all of a sudden you're in this wonderful community that I just can't praise enough. So just do it. Just apply.
And speaking of one of those famous players here, Taylor is watching from at home here. She says, look at this lineup. So, hey, player of the year is doing a shout out for us. So appreciate that. Yeah. Now we're going to get into the business of Survivor episode 9. Someone here has not watched the episodes. So, John.
Before I vacate, I did have something written I forgot to get to. Can I just shout this out real quick?
100%.
All right. Also, to build on what Amy just said, definitely get out there, play LRG. Some of the greatest friends I ever met. My girlfriend right now, I met them through games. Even if you don't work with them in a game, you make real life friends. I voted her out. It was fun. And look, now we're dating. So I wanted to shout out some upcoming games that I hope to see on the ballot in 2025. I said Stranded. It's also 2 other good games that are out: Survivor Oklahoma, Survivor Montana. New games coming: the Great Lakes, the Challenge Great Lakes. Millennium Park is doing their final season. Bellevue, the Challenge, Sir Pfeiffer. Columbus Traders is coming out. Melbourne Survivor, Destination Mole, Olympia. And I wanted to plug my good friend Danny's game, Survivor Greece, which is an invite-only game, but you can find him on YouTube. The handle is Kegel My Bagel. That is the handle on YouTube.
That is an interesting one. So, John, I'm very interested to see your take on all these new allergies. So in the past, I sat down with a lot of the hosts and production people. So hopefully you can get on here and maybe interview them, talk about their upcoming game, that kind of thing. So maybe more to come from John later on, folks.
Definitely. Thank you for having me, even though it was brief. I will watch the next season of Survivor, and hopefully I could get on a recap. All right. Last shout out to IU. Indiana is my second home. That's all I'm going to say. All right. Take care, everyone.
All right. See you, John.
Bye, John.
All right. So now on to what we came here for, folks. So I want to do a quick little interest about how the season has gone so far. Natalie, you said the episode's been going so well. Amy, what's your take on this current season? What do you think?
I like it. I know a lot of the recent seasons haven't been very popular. I'm easy to please. I haven't really disliked any seasons. This season, I like it. I have a list of what I think of each player. My opinions have changed a lot since the beginning of the season up to now.
It sounds like Natalie has a few on her hate list as well. So
yeah, so I started to like, now don't like, and vice versa. I was really disappointed in the ending of this episode.
Yeah. Oh, I think we're like hoping for that at the end. So
why wouldn't he play it? But yeah, overall,
so Amy,
I like this season.
Who are some of your instant favorites from the initial start? Like personally, I had Tevin as my number one. Like I was like final one with him. That was my sole survivor. Who were you thinking?
Yeah. I'd like Tevin too. Tiff and Kenzie. I'm on the Tiff and Kenzie train since day one. I I really like Tiffany. She's strong. She's smart. I'm not mad at Kenzie for bringing up her name because I understand why, but
And I
I'll
think
be
that was a little
interested.
bit of a ruse too to see how everybody felt about voting her out. Like, so I'm
Yeah,
interested in get.
I'm not sure how serious she was about it because she didn't end up getting one vote. So I don't know. There's a few things that I was like, But I have a dark horse, Maria.
I think
Yeah.
everyone's rooting for Maria right now. Natalie, I saw you go, yeah. You rooting for
Yeah.
Maria?
Maria, I would say I'm rooting for Maria. I've noticed that she's behind a lot of what's going on at the moment. Like nothing happens without going through her and Charlie.
Yeah.
What? There's a song. There's like an old school song. It's like something something Maria. I don't know it.
Mm.
It's like from a
I
musical.
don't know.
It is. I know what you're talking about, but I don't know the
Yeah,
name.
it's anybody watching at home right now, if you know something something Maria, please fill us in because I am losing my mind. It's right at the tip of my tongue. So, Natalie, are you also on the Tiff and Kenzie train here?
No, not really. I
Oh,
think that
okay.
I like Tiffany. I thought she was good, but I don't like the whole Tiffany and Q, everything that went on with that. And I feel like there's a lot of players who are overconfident in what they're doing currently. And I think she's one of them.
Judging by your background, I am gonna guess a Charlie fan as well.
I am a huge Charlie fan. I love Charlie.
Could you personally name 100 Taylor Swift songs?
I'm sure I could if I was on the island and bored.
That episode was like I covered that episode. That was episode 2. That was the longest episode to watch in all of my recollection. Like,
I liked it. I liked the little back and forth Taylor versus Metallica thing. I thought it was cute.
I was surprised that there's so many Metallica songs, but
And I'm not a Taylor hater, but I would have been the Metallica side.
see, it's perfect. We get the best of both worlds here on this podcast right here. Perfect. So to kind of kick off the episode and everything, we do see this big interaction with Q and Tiff. Like, I guess a little bit about the episode before. Like, I truly think like Q was just distraught that he kind of tanked Tiff's game and kind of put that pressure on himself and kind of bowed out. Amy, do you see any, like, from a game player yourself, do you see any strategy behind what Q tried to pull at the end of last episode?
Not really. I'm not sure what he was thinking. I understand maybe if he wanted to go to the other people like Charlie and Maria and those people and bring her name up to see how that would go over, but to just come out and be like, yep, she has an idol. That was the minute. He was one of my favorites. He might have been my number one until that. I get you have to get people out before they get you, even if you're close, like how Kenzie was bringing up Tiff, but I don't know what he was thinking with blurting out about the idol. And I don't know, I don't have the best memory, but was it, I know it was last episode where he's like, oh, just everyone vote me out. Was it the second time he did that? I feel like he did it earlier in the season. And even if he didn't, I don't know what he's doing. It's like if things don't go your way, just vote me out. Is he doing it is he just being passive aggressive? Is he trying to put on a show? Is he trying to become the GOAT that everyone takes? Because in my opinion, he solidified that.
100%.
Easily.
They said it this episode too. They're like, even if he makes it to the end, we are not voting for Q.
Yeah. But then look how many votes he got. So I don't know.
I think he only got votes though because of Hunter saying he had an idol. So then that was last minute. So they had like that final like 50-50 thing.
Like, do you vote for the guy with the idol or vote for this guy? It's like, oh, back and
Yeah.
forth.
Yeah. I would have voted for Hunter too, probably.
Well, he was such a comp beast. Like, your daughter wins competitions like time after time. Like, once Taylor loses, it's time to take Taylor out.
Yep.
Mhm.
Unfortunately. Yeah, so I understand all that, but I also feel like Survivor's slowly transitioning into the comp beast doesn't always win. So
Mhm.
although he's going to be harder to beat at the end than Q, so you have to take Hunter out if it's between those two.
Yeah, John said a comment earlier, and Taylor said something like when she got voted out. It wasn't very fun, in her opinion, getting voted out, and it's never very fun getting votes or getting voted out or anything like that. But
Yeah,
it's all about the experience, folks.
yeah, yeah. I
Uh,
like what Natalie was saying about some people being full of themselves. That's very apparent.
all right, they're not here, folks. You can call people out. You don't have to
I know.
go around it.
I'm trying to think of names. Liz. Okay, so
Liz.
Liz and Q have switched places on my list. I used to day one, I was like, ew, who is this lady telling everyone she's rich and all that garbage? But as long as that doesn't come back into her confessionals and her just talking to everyone, I like her. I felt for her during that episode when she was, upset that no one's going to notice her because Q, took the spotlight, and I really felt for her. So if she can calm down with her attitude from the beginning about how awesome she is, then I'm liking her more and more. Although I feel that what they showed for the preview for next week, and
It's not looking good.
no, even when she wasn't on screen, I could hear her yelling and screaming in the background. I'm like, oh God, this woman hasn't eaten in 72 hours except 2 kernels of popcorn. And, it's hard enough going one day like that, but 3 days, her mind has got to be mush.
Yeah.
So,
Well, it could be a misdirect. It could just be, I think it was last season, there was like a preview of a guy like throwing the pot like into the woods, and then it turned out to be like nothing.
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Those editors like to
that's
play
good.
us sometimes, I tell you.
Yeah, they usually get me every time.
They get my mom too.
Natalie, who's got the biggest ego on the island besides Liz here?
Venus.
Oh,
I don't like Venus.
she's been fighting since the bottom, though. Come on.
Well, she's just been cocky from day one. She compared herself to poverty so early on. And I was like, oh, no. And then Q's full of himself. But I feel like that Venus is probably gonna go very far now because everybody's now like, oh, nobody likes her, so she's fine. But then those people always get to the end.
I know.
And
I
she
think
has
Q and Venus are playing that back and forth, who are you going to bring to the end for an easy win kind of situation, or at least try for an easy win.
But I would vote for Venus if she was in the end.
I would too. She's growing on me too. That's another one who I've totally changed my opinion on.
And
I'm
it's so
kind of
interesting to see those.
changing it.
Mm-hmm. I mean, this episode we saw so many people go for so many people, and that's what I like in a season when I can't predict where the vote is going to lie. I know we have initial strategies of somebody going for Q and then Q going for somebody else and whatnot. So it's interesting to see how gameplay changes over the short course of time. I'm sure, Amy, you've gone through that before. Like, you start the day, you're like, I'm voting this person out. And then 20 minutes later, you just hear a word of something else. Oh, we're changing this one. In games, are you more of a direct person when it comes to vote changing, or are you kind of like on that bandwagon? I know there's different situations.
Yeah. I mean, I haven't played that much, but I would say if there's one of those last minute plan changes, I'll go with it to not draw attention to myself.
Mm.
I know that's a really exciting answer.
But you got to be safe sometimes, for sure.
Yeah. I'd like to know who voted for Ben. I'd actually like to know who.
It was Q.
Q.
Yeah.
Which that was his great plan at the end of the day, right? He's like, wait, everyone, forget what I said. Because he's done this so often, I say. Like, he's like, we have a plan. Let's go for it.
I
5
call
minutes later,
Ben.
scratch that plan.
Ben's the pawn. Anytime anyone wants someone else out, they say Ben, and then Ben's never out. They talk.
I
They
think
throw
Ben
Ben's
is very
name.
comfortable.
Yeah, his name gets thrown out a lot, though.
True. I see him going kind of far because he's not threatening. He hasn't really stood out. I mean, he's not good. He's not bad. He's just there.
Yeah.
And in our initial cast assessment, like the team here said the same thing too. He's like perfect middle ground person. He's friendly, but not too friendly. He's smart, not too smart. He's really social, but at the same time, he's kind of awkward, which balances things out. So he has a lot of strong suits of being middle of the road, I would say.
Yeah. I kind of put Charlie in that too. I like Charlie.
He's got a immunity win though. That puts a
That's
notch
true.
on his thing. Yep.
That's true. I like Charlie a little better than Ben. I really am. Venus is really growing on me, like more than at the beginning where some people were rooting against her. It's more she's changing a lot with me. Like she's really jumping up. I'm starting to not just tolerate her, but actually like her. And I kind of hope she does well. Although I'm more into the Tiff and Kenzie and who's going to come out on top between those two. I'm really anxious to find out. Let's see.
Well, we went into a very interesting dilemma, but it wasn't really much of a dilemma for these folks this season. But they had to pair off in teams of 3. And nobody wanted to be partnered with Q, even though I figured, like, hey, he's probably pretty strong, athletic. We can probably do something well with that. But nobody, after last night, wanted to be a part of Q's thing. So we see a team of Venus, Liz, and Q, Hunter, Charlie, and Maria, and then Tiffany, Kenzie, and Ben. Anybody surprised about this pairing, folks, or did we kind of see this in the foreground?
I'm surprised they didn't put a little more thought into it about maybe balancing the teams but I don't know.
Yeah.
I think it was Charlie maybe the one who answered Jeff's question about that, where nobody wanted to say anything, so they just let it happen.
Yeah. Yeah, that's like kind of a hard situation though, because if you do speak up about your team, it just is like it just shows your colors.
True, but I also thought, like, if that isn't really I didn't see what would be so nerve-wracking about talking about that ahead of time. I don't know, maybe it's just me, but I didn't see the harm. They should have talked about it a little bit, but it worked out okay, I guess. But
they probably should have talked about it more, but the way that it was presented, I don't really know who started it. Like, oh, us 3, and then us 3. And then I know Venus really didn't want to be on that team, but at that point, like, it would just cause a lot of drama to bring anything up.
That's Venus's strong suit, though, so why not?
She's not been causing most of the drama recently.
It's true. I know Ben was just like, let's rock it. And then they were like, all right, there's a team on that. So, but I don't know. I don't know how I feel about choosing teams in that situation, because I don't know. Do you say something, or should we just keep it like a random draw? I don't know how I feel about the fairness, I guess, in picking teams on that. Would it be
Yeah,
better?
I was surprised nobody said, "Hey, do you guys should we do this or should we do that?" Nobody suggested anything. It was just like, "Okay, we'll go here, we'll go here." I don't know, I found it a little odd.
And I found it odd that the challenges were so individual, even though it was team based. That everyone's working on one thing after another, like those ropes they had to do individually. They had to throw the ball individually. I mean, that just gives so much power for somebody to just like legit throw the challenge for their team and cause somebody to lose the immunity. I don't know how fair I felt like that setup initially was.
Hmm.
Because
And
if you make
thought
it to
about
the
it.
end and
Yeah.
someone just wants to screw you over, they're just going to be like, "Oh, yep, I can't hit this ball. Sorry, you're not getting the idol or immunity." So,
True. Yeah, and there was a little bit of talk, Q talking to, I think, Charlie about throwing it.
mhm.
That would have been a mess too.
I
I'm
mean,
glad
I
he didn't.
personally like I know better now to never throw a challenge. That was done it once, and that was my demise. So never throw a challenge, Natalie. Okay, that's your lesson here
Okay.
today. Okay, when you play a live game, okay,
I don't think
never
I
throw a
could.
challenge.
I think I'm too competitive to throw it.
Mhm. So we see the end result there. Charlie wins, and then here's a little check in with the image.
While we're talking about that, when Q and Charlie were talking before the challenge about throwing it, did anyone catch their awkward handshake? Like
No,
Charlie did this and Q did that, and then they
Oh,
switched, and it was like, "Should we do this?" Oh, it was hilarious.
they're trying to
that's
have like a
funny.
bromance, and it's clearly not working. So
No, no, no. Oh, another funny thing I jotted down because I wanted to remember the handshake, and then when Jeff said immunity back up for grabs, and the camera's on Liz, and she's mouthing back up for grabs. I
Liz,
loved
I
that.
think, has some really cute moments, and then sometimes she just has really crazy moments that I don't like her. Like it's back and forth with me.
Yep, yep,
I've
same.
always liked Liz, but that's just because I look at the draw I got her in my draft, so I had to root for her.
Yeah, speaking of draft here, I still have
Fun.
3 on my list here. So I have Tiffany, Liz, and Maria still in my 3. Lost Heaven.
Well, the 3 you still have, that's looking pretty good.
Mm-hmm. Natalie, I know you have a draft going with the family. Is that Liz your last person standing?
No, I have Ben.
Oh, okay.
Yes, and I am really upset about the draft this year because I was in Costa Rica and my dad was in Vegas, so we didn't do it together. So it was random draw. And from the teaser from the other last season finale, I knew who I was gonna pick, and I was gonna pick Charlie because his like interview was of him being like a lawyer, like college student, and I was like, he looks good. And now my brother has him, and he doesn't even
Oh,
watch Survivor.
unfair. You should talk to your mother about that.
Yeah, she's cheating.
Amy, do you have any drafts going right now? Any solid picks on that?
No, I did not do any Survivor drafts this year.
We got to get you in one.
I know, I would love to do one next season.
Good. We'll see you next season for the next draft.
I'm in. Okay.
So here's the lineup right here, and I, we talked about players being cocky. I think Jeff's being cocky. Like all those remarks that he was saying, like, oh, Q, Venus, Liz, yeah, you're going to be first out of the challenge. Like, I think that was so unfair. Like, I think it just impacts their mentality playing it, whatever. Like, Jeff, you're not playing the game. Stay out of it. I don't know. Thoughts?
Yeah. And he tried to clean it up real quick. Prove me wrong. Prove me wrong. I think he's
Spicy Jeff.
yeah, spicy Jeff. That's it. Did he do that last week too? I feel like that was not the first time he did that. I have a
He's
terrible
been a
memory.
little
Sorry.
he's been a little sassy to them this season. I haven't watched a lot of the seasons, but of the recent ones I've watched, I feel like he's a lot more involved in this season with the talking.
Yeah, I agree with that.
hmm And then the orange team was doing bad, or I think it was Kenzie's team. He's like, "Oh, the disastrous team." I'm like, "How rude!" He's not even like push through it. He's like, "Oh well, you guys lost, so just give up now."
Yeah. I was I don't know what I thought about Kenzie dropping the ball so many times.
Yeah, that
Unlike
was
her, like she's normally pretty balanced on those challenges.
Yeah, that shocked me a little. And I don't know what my point is about it, but I locked it away thinking about, further down the line, is she gonna just have to rely on her social game? Is she not good physically? Or we'll
I
see
don't know
what
what
happens.
she was trying to do with the ball. It just looked weird. Like she could have like turned to the right and just seen that like they all had like different the way that she was doing it was not the way that everybody else was doing it and they were doing better.
Yeah, it
And like
was
she apologized too, but that fell all on Kenzie.
Yep.
But we
Yeah.
make it to the end of that, and um, I was surprised that Hunter didn't pull it off. But props to Charlie. I know Natalie, you're a big fan right there. Charlie wins. Woo!
Yes.
That looked so painful. I tell you, I would die. Like a painful endurance, I am not for. Like I cannot do that.
I can't do any of the endurance. Like when nobody stepped out for Rice, I was like, I would step out. There's no way I'm hanging on that pole. Like, and that, no, I would just fall.
I
And
was
you have to
happy
know
for
your
Charlie.
strengths. So
Yep. Yeah.
mhm.
It was nice to see Charlie win. I think he really needed it, actually. Not because he was
Now,
not because he was in danger, but he needed something on his resume.
Yeah.
I was glad he won.
especially if, say, like him and Maria do get to the end. I know Maria's been kind of bad with challenges. I know she really struggled with challenge earlier in the season, and I was glad that she was able to make her ball at the end because I felt like she was stressing herself out getting up to that
Mhm.
point, like she did with that last challenge. I think she had to throw like a hoop over a pole,
Yep.
and she just couldn't get it. She was just really stressing herself out. So the fact that she overcame that too, I think it was great for both of them that they got
Yeah.
that far.
Yep. And she held her own on that balance part at the end too. So good
hmm
for her. Good for her.
She did do good in that.
So now that Charlie's safe and everything, this leaves lots of options on the table. And this is the scramble, like I said, I like. We have multiple options out, whether it's Q as an easy vote. Are we going to go end up with Ben? Are we going to blindside Tiff? Like, I think that was the first plan, was Kenzie approach people about blindsiding Tiffany at this point. Because everybody was thinking, let's go easy vote, Q, or Hunter. No one's going to see a Tiff vote at that point. But I think like she was just fishing for information to see what people's reactions were, because Tiffany was like, "Hey, I have an idol. You all know about it. I'm just playing it." So I think it was really a hunt for information. Did anybody else pick up on that or feel like that was the gameplay there?
Um, the jury's out. No pun intended. But for me, the jury was out on that because I'm not sure. I could see that being the case, though. I could.
I could see that, but she also had like the same reasoning Liz had for Tevin. She was like, I want to make a big move.
I think it's still too early to make a big move. Like, you're in a comfortable spot. Like, just give it like maybe 2 more and then try for something bigger when there's less numbers. But
A
I
lot
don't
of them
know.
are panicking.
Amy, the only person here that has gotten to like the finals, panic sits in at the finals, doesn't it?
I blacked out. Yes, it does. I truly don't remember 90% of my final tribal council. I said it. It's tough.
And I don't think Natalie has been caught up on your season, but I definitely recommend it. Make sure you check out. Honestly, everything that Amy plays is amazing. Just saying.
I've
So
only played 2, but
you have played Angelica and Can You Survive now?
correct.
Mhm.
Correct. And they are both life-changing, both very different games, but obviously both survivor-based games. But other than that, I had 2 completely different experiences, and I wouldn't trade either for the world. I loved both of them so much.
So getting to the end, are you like seeing things in people's mentality, being like, "Oh, yep, this person is being paranoid"?
Sort of. Like I vibed with Kenzie's thoughts last night. Although, like we said, we don't know if she was BSing or not, but I like where she was. If it was authentic, I like where she's thinking. Whether or not that was the right round to do it, who knows? But the fact that she's thinking that is good. You have to have your number one. You got to have someone to get you to the end, but you also got to get them before they get you, and that's tough. So, even though she doesn't come off paranoid, there's probably something in her head thinking, when's the time to do it? Should I do it now? Should I not? So she's cool under pressure, but I'm sure she's feeling that paranoia because yes, they still have time, but also not very much. Because what is there? 8 now? I think there's only 8. Oh, a few more rounds, and I feel the same about Maria and Charlie. I can't wait to see, Tiff and Kenzie, who gets each other first, and Charlie and Maria are going to have to do the same too. So I'm interested to see.
And we haven't seen that from them yet. Like, we've caught a few comments from Tiff and Kenzie about like, "Hey, we're super competitive. We're going to vote each other out eventually." I haven't picked up anything. Natalie, have you seen anything about Maria going against Charlie or Charlie against Maria?
No, I feel like they're pretty solid. I honestly don't see them turning on each other at all. I mean, it probably will come up towards the end, but it might just be like one of those things where it's like, I should probably do that, but I'm not gonna.
We think this is going to be the loyal connection at the end.
Yeah, nobody seems very loyal to anybody, so it's gotta be somebody.
Yeah. I think Tiff and Kenzie are bigger characters and like they're just bigger characters than Charlie and Maria. So obviously I think it's more of a necessity for Tiff and Kenzie to get each other out at some point. But Charlie and Maria, I don't know. I think if Maria's gonna have a chance, she's gonna have to cut Charlie because she's gonna have to show that she was running that show. Otherwise, he's got that immunity over her, and I think he could get her out just as easily. So I'm interested in both of those duos coming after each other.
Yeah.
Q's paranoia is showing, where I think some of them have the paranoia and those end game thoughts, but they're just covering it better than Q. He's just unraveling.
Yeah,
I
feel like
wonder if we're going to see more of a duo too. You're mentioning duos about Liz and Venus. I feel like they've been on the bottom. They recognize that they're on the bottom. So we have like Kenzie and Tiff, and then we have Maria and Charlie. And I hope to see more of a pairing between Liz and Venus. I don't know. That's just random thought.
I
they
think
have been talking a lot.
I think it
This
would be
is
smart for the two of them to gang up and start taking people out because they both have really good underdog stories, especially Venus.
Hmm. I mean, at this point, like you get to the final 9, everybody has a reason to get voted out. Like, not gonna lie, but there's so much time that you're playing the game, you don't realize how much of a threat some people are, and sometimes they're not a threat. So they all have good stories about why to get out. So
I got a question for you guys. Do you think there's, besides Q, who do you think is the GOAT?
I think people can determine Liz could be an easy GOAT option just because of her background of how successful she is. You know, they are
Mhm.
awarding $1 million to somebody. And if you're saying that you have ran $4 million companies before, that's probably going to hinder some of your vote
Mhm.
at the end. So you get to the end, you're not going to award a multi-millionaire another $1 million.
That's a
So I
good
think
point.
from that perspective, Liz is my first call out on that. Natalie, what do you think?
I think Liz is a good one. Ben, I could also see it would be kind of hard to argue against pretty much everybody at this point, except for Liz. That's the only person he could be like, vote for me instead of this person, because he doesn't really do anything.
I agree. I think the only way Ben has a shot of winning the game is if the final 3 is him, Q, and Liz.
Yeah,
Yeah. He's
I
probably.
don't see that final 3 happening in any
Oh,
universe.
good Lord, I
That
hope
would
not.
be crazy.
Yeah, so I think Ben's in trouble.
Hmm. Someone in the comments here says, money doesn't pay a factor in everything. Like Dreams a few seasons ago made it to the end and he was completely homeless. So it just depends. It's a balance of everything. That's why Survivor is so good because there's so
Dream.
many things to consider. Um, Same person says love the podcast, and they pose a question to us. So we're not technically on the end of the episode, but we're gonna jump to the viewer comment here. So if Hunter used the idol like we all hoped, I think we're all on the same bandwagon. Do you think briefly he would be the next to go? And I would say no, because he probably would win. He's probably still good with half of the people. He received half the vote. So, as the quick answer for me, no, I don't think he would be the first to go in many situations.
I think he it's hard to say because he might win the next, like, immunity, but he also probably would lose trust with a lot of the people if he used his idol, because I think he shouldn't have told anyone that he had the idol and just played it. And if he had done that, he would have seen that everyone was gonna vote him out, and then he wouldn't have any trust with anybody.
Mhm.
Yeah, another thing about him playing his idol is I know in both of their confessionals, him and Tiffany said 100% they're playing it. So I was waiting for him to play it and then wondering if he did play it, would that have prompted Tiffany to play hers? I don't know. Ben would have been gone, but
Mhm.
yeah.
I think they were both kinda waiting to see, because I think that
Mm,
if Tiff played hers, Hunter would have played his. And if
definitely.
Hunter played his, Tiff would have played hers.
Yep, I agree. I think if one did, the other one would have.
Mhm. And just to tune in again, I'm sorry, Sam. Your username is Duck7Man. I have no idea, and I can't see from the picture who you are, Sam. So my bad. You hosted great last week, so don't get me wrong. Okay, so sorry, just to cover that. Like, I don't know who Duck7Man was, and I didn't see the picture very well. Okay, sir.
But yeah, to
Sorry.
answer that question, it all depends on Hunter going next, whether he wins immunity or not. And God,
Mhm.
I'm just so annoyed that he didn't. I'm sorry, I can't get over
Uh,
it.
He would have
And then
gone
we have someone else
eventually.
watching at home, so a little shout out
Oh.
for Natalie right here. So go Natalie. All right, and then we get to tribal council, and it's still kind of crazy, but not as crazy as last week. Like we can all agree, we're a little bit more cool, calm, collected, except for poor Hunter in the corner. Are you voting for me? Are you voting for me? Tap Liz, tap Liz. Like,
Yeah.
So naive, I feel like. He was the same way last week. He had no idea what was going on. He's too trusting.
mm,
Just play the stupid idol. Buy yourself another round. Well, I have to get over it. He lost the game for himself by not doing that. I have to move on. I just really liked him.
mhm. But we talked about this briefly too. Jeff doesn't like stop his spiciness, as we said. He just goes into people. He's like I think Amy brought this up. Like this is like Liz's second corn kernel or something. Like that's all that she's eaten in the last 3 days. Oh, can you eat corn? Oh, yay, good for you. Like rude, Jeff, rude.
Yeah, what is it? Does she have allergies? I don't understand. Maybe I missed something towards the beginning. Why is she not eating? Is she
Yeah, I think she's allergic
it's
to like
yeah.
everything.
Oh, okay. Ugh, that's awful. Feel bad for her.
That would be
I
rough.
mean, as somebody allergic to lactose, I understand. So no ice cream for me. Like
I'm sad for you.
or like today at dinner, like no crab ragoons. So sorry, Laura, we didn't get crab ragoons. But Natalie, there's leftovers if you stop over.
I've never seen her eat a crab ragoon.
There was a comment interestingly brought up too, and we talked about like who would be the goats at the end. Somebody called out a sophisticated game of crazy. Like, is that what Q is playing to try to get to the end at this point? Is he trying to downplay? And I think we're all in agreement.
She's overplaying if he is.
Yeah, I thought of that too, but I feel like half the time that's not the case, and he just is scrambling just to save face.
Mhm.
But then again, he also, up until the last 2 episodes, it was apparent to me that he knows the game very well. So maybe he goats his way to the end, but can he speak well enough and make everyone forgive him? I don't know if he can.
I thought he was really good, and I really liked him until the last episode, and the hide and seek thing kind of to me, I was like, you're just overthinking everything
Yeah.
at this point.
I like that was the best. That was my favorite part of Q, being like, let's play hide and seek, everyone. And then Venus catches on. She's like, oh, I know what's happening here.
Yeah. And then, yeah. I thought it was funny that was in the same episode that they were on the pole, and then Q was like, why did you guys think you were going to beat this guy who climbed a tree?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
I don't know. I'd take Q to the end at this point. I think even if he says the most brilliant explanation at the end, I think he just rubbed everyone the wrong way, and they're all over it.
I don't think I could ever trust a vote from Q. So for me, that would be just a stray vote that I can't. Even if I know that vote is coming for me, at least I know that vote's coming for me. And Q is just so out there. I can't anticipate his gameplay. So
Well,
I
we
think
kinda
it's
saw
just too
that
chaotic.
with his stray vote for Ben.
Yeah.
Came out of nowhere.
And like I said earlier, I can appreciate him dipping his toe in the waters of, hey, you guys want to vote out Tiffany? But keep the idle information to yourself at that point, because if that plan doesn't work, which it didn't, you just ruined your trust with your number one, and for no reason. I don't know the reason he did that. So I just can't appreciate it, because that was just stupid. Just flat out stupid
Like,
to me.
if you're trying to like build up a vote against Tiffany, yes, but not to try to like secure friendship with somebody that's already working with you. Like, you just instigated like Maria and Charlie to be in your six or whatever, and then you're like, hey, we're good now, so I can tell you this big secret that's gonna like affect my number one.
Yeah, that was. I just don't get it.
Mm-hmm.
But
I just don't get how Hunter fell for the same thing again. Like, I know that we keep bringing this up, but it's just so sad.
I know.
So sad.
It was really frustrating to watch. It's hard not to keep thinking about it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So we always ask for MVPs of the episode. So Natalie and Amy, you're not in our draft here at Live Reality Games this season. So Natalie, thoughts about who is the MVP of this episode?
The MVP of the episode. That's a hard question.
And it's however you want to grade this. Like, it is all just 2 points that you're awarding to somebody right here.
I would just say Charlie, because I'm biased, and he won. So
It's a great choice. Like, he essentially took Hunter out of this game because he was able to beat him at a challenge for sure.
Yeah. So being biased is one thing, but it's a fair assessment.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Amy, are you agreeing, Charlie? MVP
No.
here?
No. That being said, I was going back and forth between Kenzie and Venus, and the reason was watching Tribal Council, and Hunter kept, turning aside. Is it Q? Is it me? All that whispering, and they kept reassuring him, it's Q, it's Q. I was leaning toward Kenzie. Also because she, started throwing Tiff's name out too. So I thought overall, mentally, she played a good game. But I'm switching it, and I'm giving it to Venus. And the reason is because of that Tribal and Hunter, turning and whispering to everyone. The two that they showed him talking to the most, or the two that answered him the most number of times, was Kenzie and Venus. And they both were telling him the same thing. But it turns out, I'm pretty sure Kenzie voted for Q. So Venus lied to his face a little bit better than Kenzie. So I'm going with Venus.
Good choices for both of you. None of those are on my draft pick, so I didn't get any points for that. But that's okay, folks. That's okay.
sorry.
I don't know who has who. Sorry.
No, exactly. That's why it's all fair and even for the guests to pick the MVPs and not for me to pick the MVPs. For sure. So, final thoughts about this current season, or maybe what to expect coming up. Natalie, what are your thoughts?
I'm a big Charlie fan, and Maria. I really like them, and I think they're gonna do really well. I am kind of hoping the loud personalities like that come on screen and are cocky most of the time are out soon, because I don't know how much more. I hope they just get rid of Q just to do it, because I cannot handle listening to him anymore.
It's so chaotic, I tell you. Like, I'm a chaotic player. Like, don't get me wrong, but there's another level, and Q is at that level right now. So,
yeah, he's not like dump the rice crazy or that level quite
It
yet,
just
but
smoked me out crazy. Like,
he
screw my alliances.
yeah,
Like,
I could see him there next week easily. Like it wouldn't surprise me if he started doing, things like that
I
around
would rather
here.
dump the rice than give your vote away. Like, I've been working with you since day one, and now you want to leave the game? Spill the
Yeah.
rice.
I wonder if he regrets, as a like watching it all back. I wonder if he's regretful of all that. I'm just curious. Like, God, I just want to smack half of them upside their heads, half of these players. I'd like to see a final four of Charlie, Maria, Tiff, and Kenzie, because I think that would just be
Mm.
a good final four. See those four duke it out between each other and their duos as well. But then again, you kind of got to drag Q to the end at this point.
I mean, looking right here, there's a lot of solid players that can get to the end. I'm gonna discredit Ben and Q a little bit, but if anybody else like gets to the end, I think they have a decent shot, or at least a good underdog story for sure.
Yeah. And I really do. I really would like to see Venus and Liz get together. I think that would be entertaining. It would be smart for them. It would add another duo to the others that are already in there. But I
Mhm.
know it's hard to predict. It depends who wins immunities, of course. But I don't know. I could see the winner being Tiff, Kenzie, or Maria at this point. But I wouldn't be
Natalie,
honestly, as long as it's other than Ben or Q, I wouldn't be surprised at any of them winning.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't be surprised. Maybe Liz too, I wouldn't see winning, but the rest of them,
Yeah.
I could see Liz getting to the end at least.
yeah.
I don't see her being rewarded with another million, but unless she just gives the speech of a lifetime, who knows? But not looking good.
I mean, especially what she's been through these last few episodes of feeling like super on the bottom, not making any game plays. Like, if she's able to get her footing, get to the end, and be like, hey, this is where I struggled. This is where I pushed through. I beat this game from
Mhm.
that perspective. So,
Yeah.
mhm. All right. So that was our recap here of Survivor 46, episode 9. John, thanks for joining. Do a little recap of the LRG Awards at the beginning. Amy and Natalie, thanks for joining tonight. And thanks for the viewers that are watching and commenting. Like, your feedback is great, and we love to bring you on screen, talk about those comments. So thank you for joining. Amy, a big shout out for your what's the word, like alumni or something like that. I can't think of the right term, but hey, Survivor Angelica, go check them out, and Can You Survive as well, go check them out. So thanks for tuning in, everyone. If you haven't followed yet, make sure you check in next week. We'll have another great episode of recaps here and some more great awesome guests. So make sure you like, subscribe, and we'll see you next week. All right, Natalie, off to finals with you now.